Hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining everybody for another whiskey review. Today we are getting into one of my favorite brands on the market and one of my favorite master blenders in general. Today's video is all about Luke. This one is batch 12, coming in at 117.4 proof and also autographed by Jonathan Massano. Got this one at Evergreens over in Bardstown during a recent trip. During that trip, we actually had the pleasure of meeting Jonathan in person for the first time and got to pick a single barrel. More news on that to come, but be sure you're in our Patreon or private Facebook group, link in the descriptions, for information about our single barrels. But during that tasting for the single barrel, Jonathan provided us with a sample of batch 12 to kick things off and to give our palates that nice transition before we got into any of the finished products. And clearly that tasting stuck out to me because I purchased the bottle the next day, and now here I am talking about it with you. So thank you for joining today, whiskey friends. Let's kick off the show. And if you are new to our community, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe. Also, as mentioned, links to the Patreon and the private Facebook group in the descriptions. So for those that aren't familiar with Luke, I can give a little bit of description here based on what's on the back of the bottle. After tasting thousands of barrels, Jonathan and wife Jennifer decided it was time to create their own brand, Luke, sharing their love of whiskey and family. This blend is a combination of mash bills containing up to 36% rye from Kentucky and Indiana, creating a balanced blend of layered bourbon, bottled non-chill filtered, and barrel strength. Luke is a tribute to both of their children, Caitlin and Lucas. Hope you enjoy this bourbon with family and friends as much as we do. Cheers, Jonathan. And hey, I get to share it with all of my friends here. But yeah, as mentioned, and it says it on the label, it's a blend of low rye and high rye whiskeys. It says up to 36%, which makes me think that the Indiana in this is probably the 36% mash bill. Now, I have been a big fan of these batches. The first one I got my hands on was batch 4. Also got batch 8, 9, 10, and 11. So I have been in the game ever since. And this cost me $120, which is actually one of the few brands that I'm willing to go over the 100 mark for. Particularly because as a blender, I really, really like what Jonathan does. I think his whiskeys tell just a beautiful song, and I just expect that consistency from him. He is one of my favorite blenders in the game today. Now, going into today's tasting, I have not had this in a few weeks. So I really am coming at this with a fresh perspective as we go through the review, talking about the nose, the palate, into the finish. At the very end, I'll give you my final score, and we'll see how this whiskey compares to other whiskeys that I've reviewed thus far this year. So cheers, everybody. Let's get into the nose first. Tell you what, on the nose, I think this is my favorite nose on any of the Luke batches so far. Up front, it's very baking spice forward, but then there's a lot of oak, even getting into some leather, which makes me wonder if he's starting to get to use older casks in these blends. The fruit profile on this is fun. I was getting like this light cherry at first, but the more I sit with it, I mean, it drifts into a peach. It's really just going to go all around that stone fruit range. And then balancing out those baking spices and that leather is actually like this lovely vanilla. I'd almost describe it as a natural vanilla ice cream. So a very strong start. Let's see how things go on the palate. Cheers, everybody. First up front on the palate, man, initially it is sweeter than I was expecting based off that nose that, as I said, was baking spice forward. Don't get me wrong, though. The rye spice will catch up with you on consecutive sips. But my mind initially drifted to this lovely honey and custard combination with a little bit of that cherry, almost like a cherry sauce on top of that custard. And the mouthfeel really stands out as killer. I mean, look how oily this thing is. And you just feel every bit of that as it carries the flavors across the palate. On that transition to mid-palate, too, the honey and graham cracker continues forward. You know, the graham cracker is almost like a graham cracker pie crust. And just imagine those cherries and those stone fruits, those stewed fruits are all mixed in there. The other thing that catches my eye mid-palate, too, the oak is much darker and playing a heavier story in this blend than I remember from any of the prior K. Luke batches I've had. Man, that oak and that leather are really sealing the deal for me on this one. Tell you what, this thing is very actively winning me over during this particular tasting here. I am walking away so far more positive than I thought I was already going to be. Really hitting me tonight in all the right spots. So let's get into the, man, on the finish. I mean, my tongue right now is just lit up with rye spice. There's sweetness on the front of my tongue, and then the rye spice is hitting me on the sides of my tongue, and it is just going on and on and on. Flavor-wise, it essentially brings everything together. Still getting that honey and graham cracker. Custard comes back that I was getting on the front palate. Sherry continues with all of those stone fruits. But still throughout all this, it's the oak and the leather on this one that really is that main event and that consistent through line from the nose all the way to the finish. Just a very, very, very beautiful blend. This is just beautiful whiskey. All right, let's see how this one scored. So here on the channel, we do have a robust scoring system comprised of 10 metrics behind the scenes that can be summarized as a flavor score, an experience score, and a value score. Aggregate all 10 of those scores together, and you see how this whiskey ranks compared to other whiskeys. And on this one, I mean, we're going all the way up to an impressive 88, which is a high enough score to probably put this one in the top 10 potentially for the year. I adore this one quite a bit. And you know me in the channel, I don't go above $100 very often. I will do so for K. Luke, particularly because of the beautiful songs these blends play. I don't mind the price, knowing that what's going in here is taking care of that mouthfeel with a spectacular finish and all these beautiful flavors. All right, I wasn't planning on doing this, but I do think this one is a few points higher than the batch 11. I need to prove that out. All right, this is where I always get myself in trouble when we start improvising. I mean, it's been a while since I got into batch 11 here. It doesn't look like I revisited it after the review. Now, this one is 120 proof, also came out this year. This is important though, because if I were to nominate a K. Luke for our end of year tournament, I'm only going to get to pick one bottle, and it's going to have to either be the Armagnac finish that I got from Liquor Barn or one of these batches. But I think batch 12 is in the pole position based off of this tasting. Oh man, these are totally different. You know, the oak, the leather, and the cherry of batch 12, isn't there on batch 11. The custard and honey is there, but this one's more citrus and bright by comparison. All right. Going for a sip on 11, get final thoughts, send you on your way. Mouthfeel still rocks, getting more blueberry on batch 11 compared to the cherry on batch 12. Like a blueberry muffin or blueberry coffee cake, but it leans more into those type of flavors. Not thinking about oak, not thinking about leather. Like that's just not here on this batch compared to batch 12. That elevates batch 12 quite a bit. Mouthfeel still rocks and getting a bit of a chocolate note. Chocolate and a hard caramel, almost like a Rolo. Gosh, those are just completely different. It's actually kind of amazing how different of a song they play. Batch 12, though. Batch 12 is where it's at. Looking back at the score sheet here, I graded batch 11 at an 86, this one at an 88. Totally agree with that. Oh, both really, really good. Batch 12, though, something special. Thank you, Jonathan. This is really good. Only one last thing to do, blend the blends. All right, this is a batch 11.5, everybody. Oh, man, 11.5 works really well. The nose got real rich with that custard. The stone fruits got taken over, though, by more of the citrus vibes I was getting off of batch 11. That's solid as well. It did diminish that little bit of oak and leather, which is my favorite parts of batch 12, the brightness of batch 11 took over in the ways that these have settled in the glass for just a couple seconds here. Lovely, lovely, lovely though. Love everything K. Luke is doing and excited to bring to this community a single barrel of K. Luke finished in sauternes, hopefully just in time for the holidays. So thank you for joining, whiskey friends. And just remember, while you can always find more whiskey, you can never have enough whiskey friends. So take care of those around you. And we'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for watching. Hello again, whiskey friends, everybody. A big shout out to our amazing Patreon community. If it wasn't for you, we couldn't continue to produce the content and barrel picks week after week. And for everybody else out there, be sure to hit that like and subscribe. It really helps the channel more than you know. And we'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye, everybody.